Hello, all you ghoul, ghosts, and goblins. Welcome to Halloween. We will start our show right after this amazing song from an idiot.
Tommy Torettic. See, I don't like doing this, but I'm gonna teach you a little bit about the world. Yeah. Let's go.
Welcome to the shop of Anonymous. I swear I don't want anything to do with this, I promise this. You hear me screaming from the top, I'm dropping knowledge. That barrel's too far gone for a rookie, so I'm calling this. Game over for you, trumps the grind is all I know and do. Breathing fire like a dragon's or new power coming through. Yeah, I'm working 3 jobs so that I can frack that crew. The money you dummy in front of no honey can take that love from me. Going to the future and never coming back. Marty McFly, now more like his dad. Trying to be calm, all this news is just whack. Propaganda flying, so know everybody mad. Empathy is gone, so we all for attack. If you disagree, you're just stupid and sad. Use intolerance or must be smoking crack. Ignorance is bliss, y'all, just to die, yeah. 2 sides of the same coin, killer. Why we ever stop living up for pillars? Acting like everything in life must be a thriller. We're living in a world written by Frank Miller. Cause the Dark Knight's return, so now we turn. See our heroes messed up and now we spurn them because it pisses us off and now we burn their careers alive to the ground. Cause we yearn to be in that position so that we earn millions and millions and millions. But then we turn it to the very thing we hate. Now we revert and we refer to the lines that we rehearse. Spread love and forgiveness only to sing deeper. What did we learn? Distract myself from the world. Water, earth, fire, air, swirl. Bend it to your will, then hurl. Flying buffalo, why don't you give it a whirl? Grab a saber, then just twirl. Force cut a pear, give her a pearl. Power unleashes a churl. Join the dark side with the guess it's time I get back to work. Captain of my own enterprise, call me Kirk. Anger and depression always seem to lurk. Round every corner, so I write this just a perk. Everybody moved up, cause we screwed up. Living in a country where we shoot up. Anybody disagree, just to move up the food chain where you grew up. Otherwise they beat you down cause you used up. Time to boot up, new mindset program. Think you knew us, but you shoe us. You only care about us to subdue us, just to screw us. Living in a country full of Judas. Stab you in the back, USA or Brutus. Convolution. Bringing out the Dark Knight, now we tuned up. Time to scoop up any positivity. While the masses all have clueless. They can only catch your speed, Mr. New One's opportunist. Leave them naked in the ground, talking ruthless. I am ruthless. Visions full of kid grown ghoulish, broken ruthless. Spitting proverbs like Confucius, call me Tommy Torettic or Nostradamus.
Do this. Do this. Do this. Do this. Do this. Tommy Torettic.
Hello, all you ghoul, ghosts, and goblins. Live streaming directly into your homes and phones via Facebook and the HWWS WebTV channel on YouTube. Welcome to episode 30 of Lights, Thunder, Action. I'm Thomas Carter Rochester, a.k.a. 4 Pumpkins, y'all.
And I'm David Thompson, and today we've got a big show for you guys on this Halloween special 30th episode. 30. We've done 30 of these now, Thomas. Unbelievable.
Pew, pew,
Not
pew.
including a few that don't have episode numbers, so we're past 30. It's crazy. We've been doing this for over 30 weeks. Anyway, today's show, we've got a lot planned for you all. We got a lot of news. We've got Suicide Squad news. We've got a Moon Knight casting that I am very excited about. We've got Borat news. We've got more Ray Fisher drama news coming out from Warner Brothers. A whole bunch. And then we're going to wrap it all up with The Mandalorian, episode 1, or should I say episode 9, The Marshal. So we got all that coming for you guys today.
It is definitely a better episode 9 than Rise of Skywalker.
Ooh.
Shot fire from Thor Pumpkins, y'all.
We'll debate that in the last section of the episode. Thomas, how you doing today?
I am okay. First off, it's the greatest day of the year. We have survived 2020 long enough to get to Halloween, and in Florida, everything's open. So I'm going trick or treating with my nephews, and I'm going to take a very important safety tax on their candy to make sure that no one's put drugs in it. I remember the 90s. I'm doing well, man. I'm excited. I woke up really early and I have a lot of energy. And I've gotten a lot of stuff done today, and I'm going to film Thor after this. Like, it's crazy. It's crazy. Crazy. Super crazy. I think my coffee is kicking in. David, how are you?
I'm doing good, man. Hey, Mandalorian's back. How can I be doing bad? It's a good day. Nice outside. The sun's shining. So the weather's kind of cooling down here in Florida a bit. So it's actually feeling
what's it like there? What's the temp there?
Right now I think it's like around 70 right now. When I went outside, that's how it felt anyway. It's 71. Nailed it.
Nice.
So it's pretty nice outside, you know. It's pretty
very
nice. It gets you in a good mood. Clear skies. It's not a cloud in the sky right now. So a pleasant Halloween. Thomas, what have you been watching, bud?
Bro, honestly, when it comes to watching, mostly football.
Yeah, same.
I watched Mando. There's definitely something I've watched recently, but for the life of me, I can't remember what that actually is. However, I have been listening to more audiobooks. In less than 48 hours, I finished a 13-hour book called Kenobi. From 2007, I believe. So it's no longer canon.
Oh, okay. It's a what do they call it now?
Legends.
Yeah, I almost said legacy. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a legend story. So it's no longer quote unquote canon, but it has amazing tie-ins with episode 1 of Mando, chapter 9 of Mando. It's going to be easier if we do it that way.
Yeah.
And I'm very excited to bring some threads together for you all later on. David, what have you been watching and or listening to?
So same, a lot of football. I love football. Excited for tomorrow, more football. There's that. So I was going to start watching Titans on HBO Max, but it's not there till what, tomorrow?
Tomorrow.
Yeah. So I was going to give it a shot. Later in the day, we have some news on Titans that we want to discuss that kind of excited me. And I'm like, hey, maybe I give this shot a run. Asked you about it. You said season 1's good. Season 2 is, you'll see. So I was going to watch that. I haven't gotten there yet. So next week, come back, see if I've been watching the Titans. I plan on it. Hopefully, how long are the seasons?
Like 10 episodes, maybe.
Okay, yeah. I thought they'd be shorter. So that's good. That's what I'm into anyway. So it's that. Mandalorian, obviously. I only watched it one time. I kind of want to watch that episode. I will watch that episode again before next week's episode, I believe. I don't know. I don't want to, blow the end of the episode, but I just thought this episode was great, and I'm just so happy the show is back. I think it's really there's something special about this show and the way they work it. And honestly, I'll save it. I don't want to dive too deep.
Yes, David. Where can everyone find the audio version of this podcast?
Yeah, guys. So if you aren't joining us live or watching on YouTube or Facebook, you don't want to see our ugly mug, you can get the audio version of all of our shows on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and our hosting site, Spreaker. You can find it all on there. We normally post the audio version of this show about 48 hours or less after we go live. So, going for a run, you're driving, we have the audio version of this podcast, the full MP3, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts. You can find us all over there. Thomas, what do you got for me?
As I said at the top of the show, we are live streaming directly to our Facebook page of Lights Thunder Action Show and the HWWS WebTV channel on YouTube each and every week that we come on, except last week. Some idiot in a pumpkin suit decided to hit the wrong button during StreamYard. So it went to their Facebook page instead of YouTube.
Oh, that's what happened.
That's what happened. I clicked it the wrong button. But you can also check out Lights Thunder Action Show on all of the social medias. I don't know why I'm doing this now, but we're doing it. Lights Thunder Action.
Yeah.
All one word, no hyphens, no spaces on the Instagram at LTA Podcasting, action verb of ING at the end for the Twitter, and Lights Thunder Action ! For YouTube, where all of our little short and or long clips are put. And as always, the HWWS WebTV is our home. And we are very excited. We're gonna have to just jump. I was trying to think of a good pun, but there's no good pun. We're gonna jump into some sad news right off the bat.
Yes.
So we'll save our graphic until after this. But unfortunately, we found out this morning that Sean Connery himself has passed away at the young, ripe age of 90. He's been working in the film industry longer than twice my lifespan.
Yeah.
So he's touched a lot of hearts. Sad news.
Yep. It's sad, but I think this is a time to celebrate his life. You know,
Exactly.
I read in an article that it seemed like he passed away in his sleep. It was kind of natural cause. I mean, I don't know the details, but it didn't seem like, I don't know, that it was a painful death or anything like that. I mean, I don't know exactly, but 90 years old, what a life. I will say, I mean, as someone who's only 22, like, even though I obviously like missed out on the prime Sean Connery days, like back in like the 60s, 70s, 80s, it's unbelievable. Even beyond that, 90s. It's just crazy to me that like when I saw that news and I saw a lot of people talking about it, it's like I felt impacted, even though I don't even have that many memories of his work, just outside of James Bond, just from all the clips I've seen. But I will say, it's unbelievable to like just historically to look at his career, and it's really a marvel. Because I was reading an article today. You know, I wake up, I see this news. All right, I'm flipping around, seeing a few articles. Like, just paying his due, or paying my due, I guess. I wanted to read about it, and there was I forget what article it was, like talking about his life, and he played James Bond for like 20 years. And I guess it was like 93 to 82 or something unbelievable like that. 60. Oh yeah, my bad. Dyslexia. 63 to 82, right? And I'm sitting there like, that's unbelievable. And no wonder, and that kind of put in perspective, like no wonder he is James Bond, because he was for so many years. And I think what I'm really trying to get at is that it goes to show the impact he had when someone like me even felt impacted by his passing, just because, and I'm not someone who was really alive when he was like in his heyday and it was really doing the stuff that he's most known for. But because of the impact he had, of course, Sean Connery, that's James Bond. Everyone knows that. Everyone on Earth, it seems like, knows that. Thomas, what were your thoughts when you heard this news?
I'm not gonna lie, I was numb to it. That's just how I usually react to death. That sounds way worse than it is. But no, it's probably just as bad as it is. I've had a lot of reaction. Yeah, I've had a lot of death in my life. 7 years old was the first funeral I went to, and then I went to like 24 in the next 17 years. So fun times. But I was like, oh man, and I was like, well, is it fake? First thought all the time when I read something in the news. And then I clicked on it and I was like, no, that's real. And I was like, man, he died on Halloween. Like Dia Halloween comes from Dia de Muertes. I got there. I do believe. I think that's the right word. Somebody save me. The Day of the Dead. And it's like what? I mean, me personally, I would love to die on Halloween. That's just me, and that's because I'm a morbid son of a blue. But like James Bond is a total badass, and he was in The Rock, Indiana Jones 3. He's Papa Jones, as Brian Winslow has said in the comments. Henry Jones Sr. Like, love it, right? He's so good, and of course I saw that, and all I could think was. Oh man, SNL has ruined me when it comes to Sean Connery, just because all I can think is, I'm sticking it to your mother, Trebek. And I was like, man, that's not a funny joke, Thomas. And then I was like, oh, so it's sad, but it's to celebrate his life. I mean, he laid down work and inspired multiple generations in his craft, and that's something that yes, we're sad for his family. Our condolences go out to his family and all of his fans, but at the end of the day, like we learned with Chadwick Boseman, the best thing to do is celebrate who they were, and kind of remember them that way, because that's leaving a legacy. that will last until
And
people
he
stop
truly
talking
did.
about you. Yes.
Yeah.
Sad.
I don't know.
Sad. It is the Day of the Dead, and it is fitting that he goes out on this day because now he can be forever memorialized in the day of Halloween. So,
so anyway, I guess just to wrap this up,
I was gonna just do a hard pivot.
Yeah, I just kind of wanted to say, like, final thoughts. I mean, it makes me almost want to go back and watch some more of his work. Just as someone who's young and, like I said, wasn't really around when he was in his prime or anything like that, but he really left an impact on this world. It's really sad to see him go, but I hope this is a time to celebrate his life. I'm looking forward to more articles and more clips on Twitter of his work because I know that'll pop up. I think that's one of the most enjoyable parts of when anything like this happens, just kind of reliving some of their greatest moments. And our thoughts go out to his family for sure.
Yes. There's no good segue. So we're just going to jump into the lighter part of the news with everyone's favorite segment of the week.
What the news?
All right. Before we get to what the news, hi to everyone in the comments. Terry, Kevin, Brian, hello. How you guys doing today? Everyone else watching, thank you so much for joining us. Sorry we got off to a somber note, but we had to, of course, talk about Sean Connery's death. We wouldn't be the show we are if we did not. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. All of our thoughts still go out to Sean Connery's family. And today we are going to break off the news with Suicide Squad. So,
pew, pew, pew.
James Gunn has just been a busy Twitter user lately, it seems like. And we've gotten a few little I don't know, teases or little nuggets. Yeah, a little info nuggets. So the first one, the latter is a little more interesting to me. But the first one we have is that the sequel doesn't contradict the first movie. So essentially, this is the quote from James Gunn. And here, I'll just read it to you because it's the headline and what he actually says is a little different. So he goes, "It's its own thing. It does not contradict the first movie, I don't think. It might in some ways, I don't know." And so in my mind, reading that, him saying that the Suicide Squad basically doesn't contradict the original Suicide Squad by David Ayer. He's saying, from what I'm gathering from that quote, where he's saying, I think, and I don't know, it seems like he was given the green light to kind of make his movie, and he didn't really base much off of the original Suicide Squad. Like, it won't feel like a sequel of any. I don't think it's going to feel like any kind of sequel where we're getting callbacks to the original movie, really. I think it's just, I don't think he did anything to really, I think it's just going to feel disconnected from that film and not really even be a part of it, so it won't feel like it's contradicting anything. And I think these quotes reflect that, where he's saying, I don't know, I don't think. So I don't think he really was basing anything off of the original movie. Thomas, when you just saw this little piece of news, what did you think?
Just that one quote or the rest of the quotes?
Just that quote, just for this part.
To me, I read it as certain characters, obviously, like Harley Quinn, Joel Kinnaman's character, Rick Flag, certain characters already have that kind of tie. So it might be like little Easter egg nuggets here and there, like someone might make a joke type of thing. But overall, it's its own thing, and it's basically, he did his own thing, and there's no guarantee that it will or will not contradict. But overall, its purpose is to say, maybe that happened, maybe it didn't, but this is what I'm doing.
Right.
And I think that's where the I don't know comes in.
Yeah.
Especially because like his next quote is, the first Suicide Squad didn't come out how David Ayer wanted it to.
Right.
And then he says that he did one really, really great thing, and he picked fantastic actors to work with, and he dealt with these actors and building their characters in a really deep and fearless way. It's something David definitely deserves to be lauded for, and it's definitely added to this movie.
Yeah.
So I think that's where it ties in, is these character threads for the ones who were there are going to continue on and help evolve them in a way.
Right.
And, you know, he says in this quote that some of the characters end up being good. Some of them end up being terrible. They don't just get in fights and say they're going to kill each other. They actually do get in fights and kill each other. You really don't know who's going to live and who's going to die. I was given, ladies and gentlemen, this is the lead here. I was given full freedom to kill anyone, and I mean anyone, by DC.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to kind of compound onto that. He also said in some tweets answering questions, no character was protected by DC. They gave me carte blanche to do what I wanted. That was one of the things we agreed to before I came to work for them. I wasn't looking for shock value, but I wanted the audience to know anything could happen.
Right.
Then he went on to say, it really sucks having to tell an actor you're killing a character they play, especially if they played the character in another film. Oh my. Or if they didn't die in the first draft. Most of them do not want to die, but everyone I've told has been mature about it.
Right.
So he also then, well, you know, we'll take a pause there because that's kind of like the news right there. His next thing is about locking the picture, and they still haven't done reshoots that they need to do because of COVID. David, what are your thoughts on that carte blanche situation?
The carte blanche situation?
Where he could kill anybody. Does that excite you?
It does excite me. And I think it speaks to what this movie is going to be like, where anything will kind of go. It's going to be wacky and zany and people will die. I mean, it's rated R. I think there'll be just like some random, almost anticlimactic deaths is what I imagine, or someone just poof dies like out of nowhere. I think the idea of them just fighting and then someone just like pulling out a gun and just killing them is kind of an hilarious idea, especially within the first like 10 minutes. It's like, I don't like you. And then he just kills them. So I think that this speaks to how this movie is going to be, what the tone of this film is going to be, where anyone could die at any time. It won't be. And I'm really excited for it. You know, I think these quotes only get me more excited for this film. James Gunn, I think this feels like such a fun project for him, where he gets to take the training wheels off a little bit. I think where Disney and Marvel, I think, constrain him a bit more, just because, you know, you're working with Kevin Feige, you got to work in these the sandbox they give you. Where I think with the Suicide Squad, he was given a lot more freedoms when it comes to creativity, and obviously it's rated R, so you can go a lot of different paths with that when it comes to like killing and blood and all that sort of stuff. So I'm very excited. I agree with Brian in the comments where Harley isn't dying. I completely agree. I think a lot of people, when they saw that, ran with Harley Quinn, because that'd be the most impactful person to die in this, because that's the one that we know. Yes. And had her own movie and was in the original Suicide Squad and is Margot Robbie. And I think that was almost part of him saying that, to be like, anyone could die, because she's the only one that we really care about not dying.
Yeah.
In all honesty, because all these other characters are mostly new or secondary or tertiary characters that we already knew. So very exciting. I am looking forward to this film. And James Gunn, I think this is going to be a really fun movie.
I think this movie is going to be a complete knockout, in all honesty. Yeah. Which, you know, really brings us to the next one. Like, this is big news. This is big news. I'm not gonna lie, I've not seen the first two, so I'm not saying the name yet. I'm gonna keep teasing. I've not seen the first two, but knowing this makes me want to see them even more than I already did. I
haven't seen the first two.
I've not gotten around.
You're kidding.
I got to get on my lazy butt and watch some movies.
Okay, so this is what I'm going to say about Creed. Here's the news, everyone. It's simple news. Apparently, Michael B. Jordan is in talks to be the director of Creed 3. So not just star in it, but actually, and it would be his directorial debut, in fact, I believe. Yeah, so that would be very interesting. Who was the original director? I think it was
of Creed, it was Ryan Coogler.
Ryan Coogler, yeah, that's what I thought. So interesting, Ryan Coogler wouldn't be coming back, because obviously him and Michael B. Jordan have a great relationship and love working together. So interesting. What?
Black Panther.
I'm
saying he's a bit busy.
Oh yeah, I mean, the state of that movie, we don't really know. But anywho,
True.
Yeah, unfortunately. Creed 1, in my opinion, is a lot better movie than Creed 2, if I remember correctly, where I think Creed 1 was really original and it had like a really good, just fundamental story to it, especially when coming off of like, it's a true sequel to the Rocky movies, which is awesome. And Creed 2, you know, it built off that. It was a good movie. It was a little more of a popcorn flick to me, like a little less substance there, but it was still good. And I'm excited for Creed 3, you know. I love Michael B. Jordan in general, and him in this character is actually a really, really good fit. He just kind of plays the role. Like Michael B. Jordan has that specific demeanor and personality to him, and it fits this role really well. And I think him directing it, we have no evidence to show that he can direct. So him directing, I don't even know what to make of, outside the fact that it seems like he's a very creative guy. He's obviously has his own production company. Yeah, I'm excited for this film. I wasn't even sure they were even making it until this point. Honestly, I hadn't read anything about it in forever. I'm sure it will come years down the line, especially with COVID happening and everything. So Thomas, you had anything else in this one?
No, man. Let's fracking go. I'm super excited. Much wow. Perfect. Much excite. David, I have a very serious question. Do you like space?
I do like space, Thomas.
Do you want to live on the moon?
Maybe.
Well, wait a minute. That's no moon. There we go. That's the right graphic. So Nokia, do you remember? Were you alive? Do you remember Nokia? Like those. Basically, it's Thor's hammer. Like it never gets destroyed.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Maybe it will get destroyed. Nokia won a bid to build 4G network on the fracking moon.
I know.
Basically, they said leveraging our rich and successful history in space technologies, from pioneering satellite communication to discovering the cosmic microwave background radiation produced by the Big Bang, we are now building the first ever cellular communications network on the moon. That is Nokia CTO Marcus Weldon. It said, where is it? Words. NASA aims to have its lunar base established by 2028, and Nokia says it hopes to deploy the first ultra-compact, low-power, space-hardened, end-to-end LTE solution on the lunar surface in late 2022, just 2 years from now. David, why are they going to put, why are they building a 4G network on the moon? I hear you asking very loudly with your glasses. Here's why. Because there's water on the moon. There is so much water. I'm just kidding. There is water on the moon. That was the big news that they were saying. So first off, on Friday, that would be the 23rd. They were like big news on the moon dropping coming Monday. And everyone's like, oh, yeah, you want to just say the moon's dropping on Monday? Thanks for that excitement. Way to headline properly.
Yeah.
And where is it? Oh, my gosh. I lost the quote in my notes. It is basically there are small pencil lead sized frozen bits of water in the dust of the moon.
Very
which
cool.
is so fracking exciting because now we know that potentially we can live on the moon. We can harvest it. We can go full Tatooine with moisture.
What is it? Moisture farming?
Moisture farming. Thank you. They basically said that if we find a large concentration of water on the sunlit moon, now this is the other important part. It's on the sunlit side. It's not the dark side of the moon where all the aliens live. Spoiler alert for everyone. That's where the aliens live, obviously. That's on the sunlit side of the moon. So that's where we would obviously want to live because, again, aliens on the dark side of the moon. Spoiler alert, everybody. I'm telling you now. If we find a large concentration of water on the sunlit moon, we may be able to extract it and use it as a resource for exploration, said Casey Honeyball, two popular mechanics. And that guy is Oh God, he's got a title. Postdoctoral program fellow at NASA's Goddard Space Flight Center, Casey Hannibal.
Wow.
What a name. David, what are your thoughts on this moon news?
I really don't have much. I mean, sounds cool. I'm curious what the 4G network will do for us, if that'll actually have any effect. If there will be some sort of, I don't know, better service or something like that. I don't know things about science. I love science though, and space is really interesting to me. I could watch Interstellar every day just because it's like so fascinating. And just having these like huge big brain thoughts. Water on the moon, it seems microscopic, not microscopic, but pretty small. Interesting though. I mean, it is news. We're talking about it here. So yeah. I'm curious to see what comes of this news, is my opinion.
I'll tell you what will come of this news. Because there's water on the moon, they can sustain the moon night.
Oh ho ho! The Moon Knight is coming, ladies and gentlemen, and we've got a director news. And what I am so excited about is Oscar Isaac has apparently been casted as Moon Knight. And for you that don't know, I honestly, I don't know if I've ever read Moon Knight. I think I've just like read about the character and maybe a YouTube video or two. But basically, Moon Knight is a character who has multiple personalities, and he has these different I don't know if aliases is the right word, but kind of just basically he like lives different lives as different people essentially. And he's also the Moon Knight, which is like a superhero. I don't know much. I haven't read the comics in all honesty, but the character sounds really cool. Something I do want to read now. I think looking more into it, especially reading more after the casting went out. 'Cause I'm like, all right, this Moon Knight guy. I remember hearing he had like the multiple personalities. Like, let me read a bit more, because now Oscar Isaac is going to be him. Obviously, Oscar Isaac has worked with Disney before, with Star Wars and everything. Moon Knight is a Disney Plus series coming in 2020, whatever. We have no idea. We are getting, I have noticed a trend though, where unofficial Marvel news has been coming out on Disney Plus shows the last, I don't know, a few months. We had Miss Marvel casting. We had She-Hulk casting, maybe. We had Oscar Isaac now.
The WandaVision trailer.
Stuff. Yeah, that was official. And fair. Right. I'm just saying, like, all these basically like leaks coming out from like Deadline and Variety and Hollywood Reporter. I am so excited. And then also want to point out, I've also now, it seems like they have found a director for the show, which is Mohammed Diab. Exciting. Thomas, what were your thoughts when you heard all of this? Oscar Isaac as Moon Knight sounds perfect, and I'm not even a big Moon Knight fan. I really want to read the comics now, because I just want to imagine Oscar Isaac as him.
Okay, so there's a movie that, for the life of me, I now can't remember the name. It is it's got Oscar Isaac, and he's like the male lead, but he's also like the MacGuffin the whole movie. Yeah. And it's with Natalie Portman. And
okay,
it's some alien shit. It's really good, and like the nuances that Oscar Isaac brings to it is great. And then any other like dark brooding character that he's played, which he has, is what I think of when I hear Moon Knight, because I've also not read Moon Knight, but I've heard a lot from other people, and it's always violent, very, very, very violent.
Yeah.
In the lore, Mark Spector is a Jewish American rabbi son from Chicago. He ends up becoming a mercenary, and while serving for some bad people on a mission in Egypt, shocking that he's serving for bad people, he dies. They discover the ancient temple of I don't know, Khonshu,
perhaps.
Khonshu, the moon god. The mercs kill the archaeologists, try to loot the temple. Spectre breaks ranks and tries to stop them because he's a good guy, nearly dying. And then he's saved by the moon god, and that's how he becomes Moon Knight. There's a lot of different incarnations, but the one that's most popular is that he does have multiple personalities. And it's hinted that is what they will be kind of doing in a way.
Yeah.
And he's very vigilante, very violent, and does not give a flying frack. He's going to kill people. Basically, how I understand it.
Yeah.
Will he do it brutally? Well, I don't know.
I mean, this is the Disney Plus Marvel.
I know that's
Studios
why I'm
project.
like, we'll see what happens.
But I mean,
like Mando kills people, so maybe they go that route, you know?
Yeah, exactly. I think it won't be as gory and gritty as maybe like if this is on HBO or something, but I think it will still be. He'll just be a badass who, you know, kills people, and it won't. He'll be a darker, kind of grayish character. Which I think is something that the MCU could really take advantage of and use. I think having kind of anti-hero kind of character would be a really fun addition. Where right now in the MCU, we've had a lot of just light side, dark side. A few in the middle. Loki obviously is the one that first comes to mind, but he's mainly on the dark side. Thank you, Brian. Maybe I am from Krypton. You don't know that.
Oh, I know.
I do get that a lot. Anyway, I want to read Moon Knight now. I think I just definitely will once the series is actually coming soon. Whenever that will be, you know, who knows?
4 years.
Yeah. But this is exciting news to me. It seems like these shows are moving forward right now. They're you know, casting, they're getting directors, they're starting to figure out where the story's going to go, and they're in a full-on pre-production stage. And I think with the what we talked about last week with the shift in business plans of making streaming so important, I think them focusing on streaming, getting a guy like Oscar Isaac in to be this lead character is something that is going to be important and for their company, and brings eyes there. And even though it's Moon Knight, Oscar Isaac's a pretty big name these days, and he was Apocalypse, and he was so he's got a lot of experience in this kind of area, and I am looking forward to. I think it'll be a great Moon Knight.
There's no really good transition here.
Yes.
Other than very nice. So I'm gonna keep this very brief because this is borderline speculation.
Yeah.
The Borat sequel was watched by an estimated 1.6 million US households in its opening weekend, which puts Borat 2 ahead of Disney's Mulan in terms of total viewers.
Yeah.
That's according to Samba TV. Now, I've read somewhere that Amazon came out with a different number. And for the bloody life of me, I now cannot find that article.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was going to say that the thing is with this is it's news. And I think Borat has been a great success on Amazon, it seems like. Beyond just them comparing it to Mulan, it seems like Borat's just been a really highly streamed movie and probably a good investment by Amazon. My thing is with the direct comparison with Mulan, yeah, cool. It has more streams. Mulan cost $30. It wasn't just you go on. It's not going to be like on Christmas Day, you hop on Disney Plus and Soul's there and we all tune in and watch. You had to go on and pay $30 to watch, just rent Mulan, essentially. While Borat, if you have an Amazon Prime account, which practically everyone does, it seems like these days, you just go on Prime Video and boom, it's there. You click it. You don't have to pay anything extra. So the direct comparison to me is kind of a bit irrelevant. I mean, it's interesting, and I think it's the purpose of it is to kind of show that Mulan wasn't a great success. But I think we've already gotten that gist throughout the news and throughout Disney coming out, or like there are future plans of Soul and things like that.
I think that the reason the direct comparison is warranted, and I did find that article now, but I think the reason for the direct comparison is showing that look what you can do, like look what you can generate and make, because they make money off of views. They have to. There's some way. But overall, like it probably brought in new subscribers to Amazon Prime. Right.
Yeah, perhaps. I mean, that would be the goal. And that's the whole point. That's why you buy a movie, right? Like Borat or like 007, if that ever gets sold. The idea is if you're buying it, you have to get more subscribers. That's what you're buying it for, is to bring more people in.
And that's why you don't charge $30 fucking unless it's Marvel. Unless it's Marvel, because I will pay $30 for Marvel.
See, that's the thing. I mean,
it's like Mulan. I get it because it's a family film, but honestly, they'd be better off doing Soul at $30 because I would probably pay $30 for Soul.
I wouldn't.
Right? Just because I'm like, oh, I really want to see this.
I want to see Soul a lot.
It's
yeah,
Pixar. I trust in Pixar, and
right.
why not? You know, but you know, like at the end of the day, not that many people really wanted the Mulan movie. Like,
it's true. That's the thing. No one's really pining for it. I think it got the amount of viewers it did just because families have been sitting at home, not going to be able to take their kids to the theaters and sit them in a seat for 2 hours and give them popcorn and shut them up. So they were like, oh gosh, good, a new movie. Let's watch that. And Mulan, I mean, it is the original movie is very beloved. So I think there was some excitement for it, but I think a lot of people that even liked the first film weren't all that excited for this one because it seemed like they weren't doing it justice. And I don't know, all these Disney remakes, everyone's got a hot take about them. It seems like all of them, every single one. There's people on the internet that have a hot take, and I think it's kind of warranted because people always fall in between the line of it's a direct sequel and that makes it a bad thing, or no, not a sequel. It's a direct remake and that's a bad thing. Oh no, they changed stuff. I don't like that. So it's like Disney and making these new these new remakes of their animated films. I don't know where they win because I've heard complaints that The Lion King was they changed a couple things and that was bad, or they didn't change enough and that was bad. Aladdin changed too much. Mulan changed too much. I don't know. I think these movies are just. I enjoyed The Lion King. I enjoyed Aladdin. I haven't seen Mulan yet, but I also wasn't a huge Mulan original fan. I like Mulan, of course, but like I was way more excited for The Lion King.
David, let's get down to business to defeat the Huns.
That's a thing.
Did they send me daughters when I asked for sons? I don't know how this turned into a Mulan segment.
Yeah.
But you know, Brian says something that I was already thinking. Mulan was not a remake. It was about the real life person. I'm going to wrap all this up somehow. I think for these Disney live action remakes, do your own thing. That's what I'm excited about when on December 4th, when it's free to watch on the Disney Plus, I'm going to watch it and I'm probably going to enjoy it because it's doing its own thing. It's taking the content that's there. It's the Marvel Studios playbook. Take the existing story, adapt what you can to film, and do the rest yourself. And
I'll still watch Mulan.
Yeah, I will too. December 4th when it's free for me.
Yeah.
When it's only like $5 a month for me. Yeah, that's it. There's no segue here, but season 3 of Titans is coming up, and baby, woo! I'm so hyped. Ladies and gentlemen, last Sunday they teased, they said tomorrow, Titans, words, Red Hood. And I was like, oh my. So on Monday, they dropped these bad boys. So for our visual audience, you get to see it. For the audio podcast, I will describe it to you. It is concept art of Jason Todd dressed up as Red Hood. He's walking away from an explosion, not looking, because everyone knows cool guys don't look at explosions. But they also released another photo. And this is, now I've compared this photo to the previous photo. The previous is obviously concept art. I've done a lot of work on this photo, making sure that it is real and it's not concept art because sometimes it's hard to tell. This is Jason Todd in the actual costume. You can tell when you zoom into certain pieces of the fabric and the way the light's hitting that this is real. And if it's not real, this is the best 3D graphic shit I've ever seen in my life. So bravo. Jason Todd is going to be Red Hood in season 3 of Titans, and I could not be happier. And I'm not going to spoil anything. David, do you know his story? You know his story from the comics, right? He's murdered by the Joker. Mm-hmm. How he becomes Red Hood is a mystery to all of us, I will say, in season 3. It'll be exciting. David, does this get you hyped to watch season 1 and 2 of Titans, which comes out, by the way, tomorrow on HBO Max? Winky face.
I know, which is funny because the tweet that announced the Red Hood images and announced that Red Hood was coming in season 3 also said HBO Max November 1st, seasons 1 and 2. So I'm dumb for even thinking it was earlier. Anyway, no, but
it's hard.
It is hard, especially when it's the second sentence, not the first. I will say this is what makes me want to watch seasons 1 and 2 in a way, because I guess I think I've seen Titans, but now it's going to be on HBO Max. I accidentally re-upped for next month of HBO, so I'm like, or HBO Max, I'm like, hey, that's something to watch, and I think it looks pretty cool. This is why, from the beginning of the show, when I was saying I want to watch seasons 1 and 2, this is primarily what got me, oh, hey, maybe I should watch the show, especially if it's going to be on HBO Max. I have it for another month. Might as well take advantage of it. Do we know when season 3 is coming out? Is that not a part of this?
No, we don't know.
Yeah.
So the graphic here, I'm going to just pull the banner off for the visual. It says coming fall 2020. That was the original plan, and that was like last year before COVID happened.
Right.
I do think they started filming recently. So like fall 2021.
Yeah.
I have no idea. We'll find out eventually.
Though.
It's coming. You know what else is coming involved in the Bat family? Batwoman, baby. Actually, you know what? I forgot to add this to the notes. They released the premiere dates for all of the CW shows.
Yeah, they did. Mm-hmm.
But I'm not going to talk about that because you can Google it. Here's what I am going to talk about, baby. They finally released the updated costume for Javisha Leslie's Batwoman. And for our visual audience, I will hit the button. For those of you that are not watching and you're just listening, you can find these on the interwebs. Just type in Batwoman new costume. So what I love here is that they have they've added some more red to the costume, which I love. Yeah. She's got the classic Batman gauntlets, but they're red. I also like to call them the Shredder gauntlets because they remind me of Shredder from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Shout out to childhood. People were wondering, how are they going to know that she's a black woman? Which is kind of a big deal. It's like, oh, she's some people were saying, oh, you can't tell that she's going to be a black woman because she looks the exact same and wearing the same costume. And then other people were like, but she's black. So you're going to be able to tell when they see her that she's not the same woman. Well, they've added this big hair, this Afro style. I'm assuming it's going to be like the previous Batwoman costume where it's a part of the cowl. And that's not her hair coming out of the cowl, but I have no idea. I'm very excited to find out, but it's got red at the bottom, like red tips. Yeah. And there's this second image and you see that like her hair, the cape also fades to a red. I like to akin it to the reverse of the Atlanta Falcons uniforms that they have. I don't really have anything to say except, oh, baby, I love every bit of this. I'm so excited to watch Batwoman. Now that there are dates, I have like 3 months to finish all the shows because I'm about 4 episodes behind on all of them because COVID hit and I was like, frack it.
Yeah.
David, what are your thoughts on this costume?
I think it looks really cool. I mean, as someone who's kind of fallen off the CW verse train, I think the costume looks great. I think she looks really good in it. And I think she looks like a really good just Batwoman in general. If I was going to be like, hey, this is Batwoman. And I saw a picture, I'm like, oh yeah, cool. That's a really good looking Batwoman. I like how, I'm not sure how they had it in the first one where like her hair is able to kind of flow out. It's not like she's not just in the cowl or anything like that. Mm-hmm. I think that's a cool touch. I think what you're saying with the comments of people not knowing she'd be black is like, she won't be in the cowl all the time in the show. I mean, like what? Like,
they were asking like in universe logic, like, will people know it's the same Batwoman?
No,
like, how are they going to write it?
Right?
Yeah. That's what. Yeah, it's a new character.
Yeah, right.
That was their like in universe. Are people just going to be like, oh my god, look, it's Batwoman? Oh, she looks the same. And it's like, no. Like now that they've done this, I think everyone's going, okay. So it's going to be very prominent that she is a black woman who's playing Batwoman.
Right. You'll have to let me know how that works with. I'm just honestly just curious if they write it well, like how they're going to explain that, because it is a new character. Obviously a new woman playing this new character. And I'm curious to see how they play that, because it's not an easy task, I guess. I mean, maybe they'll just try to, I think they'll probably try to avoid over explaining it and just get into the story and just rely on there being a good story there and just diving into this Batwoman season coming next year. So essentially, from what I saw from the CW stuff, that all those CW shows like this, Black Lightning, Flash, they're all Superman and Lois, they're all coming January and February of 2021, essentially.
Yeah. You know what else is coming at some point in the future? But is it the future or is it the past? Because time is so relative. This could be a Tenant segue. It's not. It's an Assassin's Creed segue.
Yeah. So this is some pretty interesting news. So essentially what's happening here is Netflix has struck a deal with Ubisoft, which is the game developer of Assassin's Creed. Assassin's Creed is an unbelievably popular game. I'm not really a big fan. Haven't really played them much. They're really, they're really cool and everything. I don't know. I just never really got into them, I guess. And there's so many. I think when there's so many, it's like, I don't know. It gets to be enough.
That's fair. I started back in the day with the first one. So, and then I played 2, and then I played all of Ezio's story. And Assassin's Creed 3 is probably my favorite, which is where this image came from. He was just a total badass in the American Revolution, taking out redcoats and all these corrupt a-holes. But, you know, I've not finished Assassin's Creed Origins because it's incredibly freaking long. I've also not finished Red Dead Redemption 2 because it's incredibly freaking long. I've not played the Greek Odyssey, Assassin's Creed Odyssey, and everyone's like, you need to play Valhalla. I'm like, who the hell has time to play that? I just finished Marvel's Avengers, guys. Like, get off my back. I'm very excited for this because it's going to be
the news.
Oh, right. My bad.
The news, everyone, is that Netflix struck a deal with Ubisoft, just said that they're going to make not only a live action series, but an anime series on top of that, which is really interesting. I even saw an article recently that was saying how popular anime has been on Netflix. And there was also, I don't think we have it in our news today, but Sony bought Crunchyroll, which is an anime like company streaming service. Yeah, did you see that news?
I did not see that news.
Yeah, so Sony bought Crunchyroll for nearly $1 billion. It was like 950 million, somewhere in that ballpark. So anime, I think going off of this, and I guess joining that in here a little bit, is just the popularity of anime. It's curious that they're making both a live action and an anime series. I'm sure both will be pretty popular though. And I think a live action series could be really cool with Assassin's Creed, because from what I understand or what I remember from the games is that it could really translate to a really cool show or series really well. Just especially with, I think, the different settings they go into. Like, I think that it feels right for Netflix too. It seems like a show they would really put some like money into. Yeah. Thomas, what were your thoughts hearing all this?
Well, I'm nervous, but I'm also not that, like, I'm excited because they've done well with The Witcher, apparently. Like, they developed the story. I liked the Assassin's Creed movie until the final 15 minutes of the movie, because they rushed the ending, which is my biggest gripe of. I'm like, okay, it's going. And then the final 15 minutes, so much happens. It's like, oh my God, that was stupid. Yeah. I love the games, and for long form narrative, it's great. So a show would be amazing instead of trying to cram a bunch into like 2 hours. So that's the right move. I'm more excited about the anime because of everything that you can do within the medium itself. You know, like doing a live action Dragon Ball Z series is incredibly expensive, but doing the anime, you can get away with doing a lot more for a lot less. So that's why I'm excited for the anime a little bit more. That's about it, dude. I'm just really excited to see what they do.
Yeah, me too.
Because I am a big fan of the Assassin's Creed arc and lore of it all. It's just so oh man.
I think it's a good point that you mentioned that The Witcher too, because that's obviously a game adaptation on Netflix now. And I think it'll be probably treated similarly. There's a lot of money in that, big time casting. So yeah, exciting stuff. I think I'll probably watch definitely the live action one.
Yes. You know what else has had a lot of action? I can't even say it without like cracking my voice. Ray Fisher versus the World is how I'm describing this.
You take this one, man. I can't talk about this crap anymore.
Oh boy, I was not as prepared to take this right off the bat. Okay, so Ray Fisher had an interview with Forbes and laid out some more info on the toxic set and the investigation. There's also been a response from Warner Brothers and reps for Joss Whedon.
Yeah.
Oh boy,
it's just more drama, man. There's just more going on with this, and it's such a shame. It's crazy. It's gotten to this sort of serious point, and I mean, really, it's not fun and games with this whole situation. And Ray Fisher, like, it's still a wonder to me how it's years later and all this is still coming out, and there's more. And I guess getting a response from Whedon's people is something too. I don't know, man. This stuff just, I hate this kind of news.
Well, I'm just going to jump right in. I'm going to read Fisher's quote word for word because straight from the source. He said, prior to Justice League's reshoot process, blatantly racist conversations were had and entertained on multiple occasions by former and current top-level executives at Warner Brothers Pictures. Decision makers that participated in those racist conversations were Jeff Johns, John Berg, and current Warner Brothers Pictures Group Chairman Toby Emmerich. Emmerich, Berg, and Johns did not immediately respond for comment. He said, I realized that the notes I ended up getting from Johns during reshoots were just a coded version of the racist things he was saying with behind closed doors with other executives. A lot of these guys were doing, a lot of what these guys were doing was in an effort to prevent themselves from being fired during AT&T's merger with Time Warner. I plan on getting much more specific about each of these guys after the investigation is over. This interview is just the abridged version. I'm going to take a pause right there and say that what he just said without any confirmation, and it doesn't sound like he was there. So, and we don't know how he got his information. Being objective borderlines on speculation.
Yeah.
However, I could easily see that shit happening.
Yeah.
Especially with the quote that I am looking for as of this moment. He said that the conversations were reported to him. Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't read the next quote. My bad. These conversations were reported to me by people in the room, and I wasn't made aware until after I'd already spoken out about Joss Whedon. So that's how he got those. But again, it is at the end of the day, that would be hearsay and secondhand information, which is very annoying to me. Not because of what's being said as reported. I have trust issues when it comes to, I don't even watch the news because I don't trust the news itself. Yeah. Because everything's propaganda. Welcome to our show. We are propaganda. Thank you. We love you.
Yes.
He said that none of what he's sharing in the interview is news to Warner Brothers HR, nor should it be news to Warner's media. He reported almost everything to them back in July, including Emmerich's involvement. The fact that he's having to advocate for himself in this way is equal parts freeing and frustrating. Oh boy, I will get to Whedon in a minute. He said he always suspected that race was a determining factor for the way that things went down, but it wasn't until this past summer he was able to prove it. He said race was just one of the issues with the reshoot process. There were massive blowups, threats, coercion, taunting, unsafe work conditions, belittling, and gaslighting like you wouldn't believe. He said that Jeff Johns made a veiled threat to his career during LA reshoots of Justice League. Multiple sources informed him that Joss threatened the career of another person associated with the production. Toby was made aware and tried to cover for Whedon rather than deal with the abuse. The situation had to be escalated to Sugihara, I think is how you say it, to get any results.
Yeah.
And I'm still not finding the damn quote that I was looking for. And it was about, maybe it's in this article.
Okay.
Because it was the one that I sent you. That was just eye-opening. Where is it at? What set my soul on fire and forced me to speak out about Joss Whedon this summer was my becoming informed that Joss had ordered that the complexion of an actor of color be changed in post-production because he didn't like the color of their skin tone. Man, with everything 2020's been, that was the tipping point for me.
Yeah.
That is the quote. And Whedon says in response, the individual who offered this statement acknowledged that this was just something that he had heard from someone else and accepted as truth, when in fact, simple research could prove that it was false. As is standard on almost all films, there were numerous people involved with mixing the final product, including the editor, special effects person, composer, etc. With the senior colorist responsible for the final version's tone, colors, and mood. This process was further complicated on this project by the fact that original director Zack Snyder shot on film while Joss shot on digital, which required the team led by the same senior colorist who has worked on previous films for Zack to reconcile the two.
This is a disaster, man.
Here's my thoughts.
Yeah.
Old Hollywood loves to cover up things. In fact, old money loves to cover up things, right? No matter what, they will never. And I'm gonna state this as an absolute. Only Sith uses an absolute. Calm down, Obi-Wan. This, no matter what, will never be acknowledged by Warner Brothers or anyone who works for them. Still, they will no longer be working for them when they mention it, things of that nature. That is just how the world works, and it really gets under my skin and grinds my gears because it is all bullshit to cover something up. If you are so afraid of the truth that you have to cover it up, then that means you're a terrible person. I said it. And that means that you don't deserve the quote unquote power that you have. It's ironic.
Yeah.
There's no good segue here because I just want to. Oh, you know what? Here's a little bit of weird news. We're just gonna keep it on the Warner Brothers train, baby. Listen, I'm gonna just say I support Ray Fisher. I want to know what happened, and unfortunately, it sounds like at every juncture, it's not going to work out well for him based on a litany of reasons. Most importantly, that old money always wants to lie. Oh, I didn't mean to click that. Awkward. Old money always wants to lie. And saving face is always more important than the truth.
Yeah.
And that's why I hate propaganda. But this will borderline on propaganda, ladies and gentlemen. Warner Brothers has come out. Warner Brothers, Sarnoff. I am missing apparently half of my quotes here. A Warner Brothers executive admitted that they have no regrets about Tenet's release. Anne Sarnoff says that she stands by the decision to release Tenet. When they did, here is what she said and the reasonings why. And this is going to be very important because it segues aggressively into our next and final story before we get to Mando.
Yep.
She said, we are very pleased with the results of Tenet. A couple of things. We knew it would be over-index in international markets. Christopher Nolan has a huge following, of course, in the U.S., but his other movies typically over-indexed in international markets. If you remember back in June, July, August, the international markets were more open. We had this amazing movie that really deserved to be seen on the big screen. I second that statement. We could have sat and waited or taken it out there and in theaters. We could have sat and waited or taken it out there and put it in theaters that were open and granted socially distanced. Because there weren't as many movies, theaters were willing to work with us. If it's 1/3 capacity in a given theater, they'd give us 3 times as many theaters so we had effective the same capacity. So here we are. We're getting close to $350 million in the box office, which is really good in a pandemic. Over $50 million in the US. The rest is internationally.
Which is crazy.
Quick pause. Right?
Yeah.
Like, it
50
has
million
slayed overseas, which is kind of expected. And that is why they released it. And that is, I'll get to their final quote because it really pushes into our next story a little bit. The other thing that we did differently was we decided not to make it about a big splashy opening weekend. In the US, only about 75% of the markets were open when we launched in late August.
Yeah.
So it made no sense to spend all of your marketing money up front if you couldn't go to theaters. We decided to call it more of a marathon versus a sprint. We spread out our marketing dollars so we didn't have the same kind of hurdle or expectations that we previously had pre-COVID.
Yeah. It makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
My thoughts?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I don't know, man. 50 million in the US. I think that, I mean, I understand her explanation and her logic makes sense, but let's be real here. 350 million for a Christopher Nolan film. Like, how much did Interstellar make? That I just don't think it's comparable. 350. I mean, she's optimistic and I think she has some good points and I see where the logic was, but at the end of the day, I mean, 350 is a lot of money, obviously. I'm not going to try to poo-poo that, but this film, I mean, there's no way around that it would. She does clarify it's good for in a pandemic, right?
Yeah. Yes.
I think just the only question that comes to mind is what?
Sorry, I looked up Interstellar box office. 108 total $696.3 million. It made $188 million in the US and $489.4 million in all the other countries. So in terms of its international, it's on track.
Yeah. So that's pretty good. And I think this movie, obviously, it has quote unquote legs because it's going to be in theaters forever, just because the only theaters that are open, it's going to have Tenet playing because hardly any theaters are really open now. AMC, I guess, is still open and no movies are coming out anytime soon in theaters.
Not big ones.
Not big ones, right? I will say I'm glad they don't regret it. I'm glad personally I was able to go see it in theaters. I really enjoyed the movie. I'm sad I have only seen it once, but I will say I just don't. I guess it is doing pretty well for what it is right now during COVID. But I'm curious why they didn't. I mean, I guess when they made this decision, it was when they thought movies were going to start coming out in the fall, right? There was plans for this. And Christopher Nolan really wanted to come out in the theater. He wanted it to come out now. I just wonder where everyone else in the industry is just backing off. I mean, we're hearing the Sony executives saying that we're not putting any movies out until we can pack a theater. That's a big statement, right? Especially with Morbius coming out in March, apparently, which I think is doomed to be pushed back at this point.
Oh, yeah.
And I just will say that I'm glad I got to see it, and I'm glad that they are happy with the performance, but I still question if they should have just pumped this back to 2021, like moved it back a full year, almost like Top Gun Maverick did, where they ended up being just like full year back, go from July 2020 to July 2021. Maybe not. And maybe they are going to, after their, we'll look back in a year and see, or even 6 months and see their whole lifetime in the theater. Maybe we'll be like, all right, that was the smart move because they were able just to own the theater during COVID, which isn't a great time to own the theater. But when it's the only big thing out, maybe it can work in your advantage. I don't know. Interesting to me, and I think it leads to our next story here.
It does. It leads very swiftly because here's the most important thing to remember. The number 1, number 2, and number 3 U.S. markets have not been opened yet.
Yeah.
And that is where all of the money really comes from, is those top 3 to 5 markets. So it's open in 75% of the markets, but those are tiny markets. Like I went and saw it in Waco, Texas. That's
right.
Comparative to San Francisco, Los Angeles, New York, Chicago. That's a tiny market.
Yeah.
So that's where it's been making that money, is in those smaller markets. And, you know, to kind of counter your point on whether it was a smart move or not, somebody had to have the balls to brave it. And Christopher Nolan is like, whatever, I'll be that guy, because he's one of the last, I don't want to say he's one of the last filmmakers who was like, he's one of the last old school filmmakers, and how he views cinema itself. You know, he does things for the big screen. Now, in terms of the number 3 market of San Francisco, that is actually going to be opening up soon.
Yeah.
Despite the firm response, now this is coming from Deadline. Despite the firm response earlier this month from the National Association of Theater Owners of California / Nevada to not reopen cinemas in San Francisco County, given its concession ban, major circuits like Cinemark and AMC have taken an about face this week. Sources tell the writer who I just lost it. Anthony D'Alessandro. Sources tell him that the decision for the number 1 and number 3 major exhibitor to reopen stems from them wanting to prove to major studios that they can reopen the number 3 box office market in the United States. Surrounding counties, Alameda and Santa Clara, during pre-pandemic times, represented 2% of the domestic box office.
It's kind of crazy.
That's a lot, right? Like that's a huge number. All studios care about are screen counts, and Warner Brothers has been eager to reopen San Francisco for Tenet, the city being traditionally a big box office market for Christopher Nolan movies. Another upside is that San Francisco is in California's COVID-19 yellow tier, which means that theaters can operate auditoriums at 50% capacity.
Here's my thoughts on this, if you don't mind.
Okay, I have one more.
Okay, let's hear it.
So the other reason why Exhibition is braving San Francisco sans concessions is to prove to local health officials that you can sell food and drink. And it's to show them that you can reopen safely and follow proper protocols during the pandemic.
Yeah.
It's an optimistic attitude that in short time, local health officials will hopefully come around. Now, it's been the case in Chicago, Philadelphia, and Boston, all of which banned concessions for a month or so during cinemas reopening. However, effective Friday, Chicago is suspending the indoor dining and bar service as the Windy City has seen a rise in hospitalizations and positive rates.
Right.
So they're doing it for a lot of reasons. Prove to local health officials. And they're kind of on a path of, hey, these guys have done it. Let's see what we can do. What are your thoughts?
You know, I think I've heard this in the news and reading things that like a lot of people saying California just like won't open back up. It's just one of those states where it's like they have huge markets. A ton of people live there, obviously. And it's primarily been kind of really more shut down. Like it hasn't opened up back up as quickly as maybe some other places. I'm not here to debate if that's smart or bad, but you know, the smart thing to do or not. But I think from the movie theater's perspective that, they need to prove that they can do this in these markets because they're so big and they're, especially with like a Tenet, if they could finally get in there. And that's probably bringing it back to the Tenet news. It's just kind of sad where it's only in theaters. And I've just noticed that the hype around the movie wasn't as much as it would have been just because a lot of people have not seen it. You know, I mean, 50 million at the domestic box office, you know, it's a good amount of money, but it's not that like everyone has seen it now. Like a lot of people haven't. A lot of people in general just think that movie theaters aren't open and don't even look into it. You know, it's the casual moviegoers that we're missing. And I think if we can get these big markets back open in a safe way, it was curious to me reading about the concessions because I hadn't really thought about that. I mean, before Regal shut back down, I could get concessions at the theater here. They actually had a cool way where you could order it ahead and you could do like non-contact where it would just kind of be there for you, like pick it up. But so there's ways. I think really what we had kind of like what I was going to say my thoughts were is that reading this, it's like, all right, when it gets into 2021, what are we doing? You know, when like now there's movies coming, right? And are they going to start having to push more? Are we going to not get like a ton of movies till 2022 or like the second half of 2021? It's just so much up for debate. And I just wonder what the breaking point will be when all of a sudden, I guess studios will be like, okay, these markets are open to a certain percent. We have to just release the movie in theaters. You know what I mean? Where it's no longer we got to push it back because these studios are losing money. I was reading the other day from pushing back the films. They're not just like sitting and it's an even balance. They're losing money from pushing it back, right? So anyway, I think it was a very interesting article, right? I think it opened our eyes a bit to like kind of the logistics and seeing how they're working in California. But Thomas, anyway, what were your thoughts when you read through all that?
I'm very interested in this. Like, I was surprised when I read it. I learned a lot about some stuff that I didn't know. Mm-hmm. Like, I didn't know San Francisco was the third largest market in the U.S. That's amazing to know. It is definitely it's our closer because it is an important news story to follow, and it is going to be I'm trying to think of how to like phrase this. It's going to be, I think this is the start of where movies are going to be going. Like, I think is probably the best way for me to explain that. Mm-hmm. This is the start of really seeing what's happening next in movie theaters. And I think whether it fails or this in San Francisco specifically fails or succeeds is going to give us an idea of what happens next year, as you were just talking about.
Yeah. Curious comment before we get on to Mando from Terry in our comments. England, Terry saying this, England are about to announce going in total lockdown until December 2nd. I think we in Northern Ireland are having a partial lockdown. Cinemas getting ready to close down again. So that's, something international for us happening around the world, where everywhere in the world they're having to deal with these sort of logistical issues when it comes to the theaters and just government policies and how to be open and shut down and for how long. And it's just a mess, man. I can't wait for this all to be over.
Oh boy. Well, you're going to be waiting for a long time. Long time. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a quick break. If you would love to support us, and you would like to be a sponsor of Lifestyle Interaction, we will make an amazing little advertisement for you and your company, such as, this.
Famous Faces and Funnies in Melbourne, Florida is leading the way in pop culture fun. From comic books and graphic novels to Funko Pops and collector's items, Famous Faces and Funnies has it all. Rick Shea and the professional team at Famous Faces and Funnies are friendly and knowledgeable. Whether you're looking for toys, props, collector treasures, or a new comic book, Famous Faces and Funnies is your one-stop shop. To find Famous Faces and Funnies on Facebook and Twitter, just type at FFF Comics.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back, and that means it is time to venture in one more time to a hive of scum and villainy with Mando.
Yes.
Son of a blue. I forgot to upload the one that had spoiler warning above, so I'm going to tell you right now, folks, aggressive spoiler warning. This is coming with all of the spoilers. If you have not watched Mando Season 2, Episode 1, Chapter 9, The Marshal, then boy, let me tell you, we're about to ruin it for you. So if you've not watched it, please watch it and come back to us. We'll be here we'll be living in the Ethernet forever. Ooh. David, I normally we jump around. I think that's a terrible decision because that'll last 50 minutes.
Yeah.
I think we should walk through this episode. I've got my notes here.
Okay.
First off, season 1 was great and the recap was amazing.
Yeah.
And
really
you know what,
recap.
David? You know one thing that I noticed?
Yeah.
They didn't talk about anything from like 4 to 6, which was a super effing bummer.
Yeah, right. I'm saying, bro. That's literally what I'm saying.
But episode 5. Actually, no, sorry, I made a mistake there. 1, 2. Episode 3 was running away. Episode 4. So episode 5 was Tatooine. Yes. So it didn't show anything from 5 to 6. It showed. The recap was episode 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 8 is what it kind of pulled from. But episode 5 in Tatooine is like a direct lead-in almost for this. You needed to watch that episode to really understand honestly, most of this episode only because of the Easter eggs we're getting throughout.
Yeah.
I meant to queue up a video from Thor Watches when I claimed that was the Fett Man at the end when someone walks up to Finnick Shan, but I didn't queue it up, and I don't know if I'm even right still, so I'm going to have to avoid that.
Yeah.
So diving into this episode, there's an amazing cold opening, and it starts opposite of season 1. Season 1, it's him walking away from the camera, and this time it's him walking into the camera with who else but Baby Yoda, little baby.
I just loved how just from the jump, it's like, all right, these are our guys. They're together. Yeah. He's with me. He's always with me. And it's just, we're back. And I thought they actually, they did a nice balance of not showing us like overtly so much like close-ups of Baby Yoda just to like please all the millions of fans that just like love Baby Yoda, of course. And they just, I don't know, it was just perfect the way I think just on that dynamic overall in the entire episode, I loved seeing just those two together again and the relationship they've kind of like grown into now. It's really cute, honestly. It's grown so far from like episode 1 of last year, obviously. And yeah, I really enjoyed just them being together and us getting back into that father-son-like relationship.
Yeah, and it jumps right into the act. Okay, so the trailers that we've seen, most of it is from this episode.
Yeah, I noticed that, and I thought, honestly, at the beginning of this episode, I'm like, oh, okay, we're going into this fighting thing. Like, it makes sense that this is what we've already seen, and we're going to get this from the jump. And I think that's smart to do in all of these Disney Plus shows, honestly, if they can, because once you're in on episode 1, all you have to be teased is really for episode 1, because then you're in, right? And now you're watching all the episodes. So it's not like a movie where you can tease it's one piece of content. It's 8 pieces. So you just got to tease that first one to pull us in, and then we're off to the races.
It's the Avengers Endgame marketing strategy. Really what it is. They showed most of it from like all trailers were basically the first 20 something minutes, and then clips from later in the movie, which were very spoilery, but they fixed it. So like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Gor Koresh, who he's going to see, hunts Mandos. First off, hunting Mandos is a dangerous profession. That's actually played by John Leguizamo. That's how you say it. I don't think I said it right. Who's in like everything. I mean, he literally kind of is in everything. It's important to note that Beskar value continues to rise. So Beskar is being hunted and Mandalorians are being hunted for their Beskar so that it can be sold because it's money. And then they basically just send us straight to Tatooine. And he started walking, and we were seeing the graffiti, and I was like, oh, we're starting here. Okay. Like, dope. Cool. All right. Yeah. And then it's like going to Tatooine. And I'm like, holy shit, we really are starting right here. Okay.
Yeah.
And then they hit us with boom, the intro.
Yep.
And it's just like,
dude, when he left him hanging,
right. And just
I'm like,
savage,
bro. I will say, did you notice? Remember that one shot from the trailer when it's like his head's like close up, and in the trailer it's like, this is the way. And I called it on this show. I said, there's no way that is actually when he says that, and I knew it wasn't true, and that happened, and I was happy about that because I got something right.
You were correct.
I could tell because it didn't seem like in the moment, like that's not his character, and he seemed so calm. Like, I loved him fighting those guys, by the way, and just being like, "Yeah, right, you're gonna get me."
Badass. Yeah.
And even the little like gimmick we saw from the trailer of Baby Yoda hitting the button was still hilarious, and it just got us off to the races. I feel like, or it just got us back to remembering the show in a great way, and remembering these characters and the interaction and who Mando really is. And that he's really a killer, with hanging that guy upside down. He doesn't really have much, I don't know, sympathy for those people like that.
He's a man of honor. And, the best part is he said that wasn't part of the deal. Like, that's his last line he says to the guy. He's like, you can't leave me here, blah, 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 blah. And he's like, that wasn't part of the deal. Shoots the light out, gets killed. And he also said, you will not die by my hand.
Yeah.
He didn't die by his hand. He died by the other things.
Yep.
It's like a Batman, but it's like, I don't have to save you. Oh, I'm not going to kill you.
Right.
But I don't have to save you. Then we jump in, we go to Mos Eisley. We meet Pelimado again, and let's be real, that she's just us at this point. She's so excited to see Baby Yeet in season 2. And of course she has, there are some great quotes. I've got great quotes. Number 1, thank the Force. That's what she says when she sees Baby Yoda. And it's like, like that's me too. And we get a nice little reminder that he's evolved. Mando's evolved with the droids. Oh, no, he doesn't like droids. She could probably use, you like droids now? Okay, you heard him. Get on the thing. Do the thing. Get to it. Three Stooges. And it's a great setup because in season 1 we got a lot of prequel stuff and we got a lot of original trilogy stuff, but this episode takes them and literally has them merging together, riding side by side in a desert sun. Which we'll get to in a moment. But then of course she says, how much do you want for it? Just kidding, but not really. If this thing ever divides or buds, I'll gladly pay for one. Me too. And my final payment comes out on Wednesday, and I'll be getting it soon. I'm excited. And then, of course, another little Easter egg that I'm not sure you noticed, we get R5.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Is from the original, from Star Wars A New Hope.
Yes.
And I love it because, she's like, come on. You can't get good help in any of this. I don't know who to complain to. And it's like, it's because he's got a bad motivator.
It's so funny. When that happened, I was like, wait, is that the anyway, I was like, is that the one from episode 4 essentially in my head? I'm like, oh, maybe it is. But yeah, it was. Yeah,
like they had the scorch marks and they were very overt on being like, without going, hey, remember this guy? They're like, hey, remember this guy? Like,
I mean, this episode is chock full of Easter eggs.
Oh my God. So all of the Easter eggs. Then I don't know why I just have Tuscans and exclamation points. He when he's traveling to Mos Pelgo, there it is. We see some Tuscans, and like I said I was talking about the book Kenobi. Yeah, a main character in that book is a Tuscan, so you learn about Tuscan way and how they react to each other and their not the religion, but like their ritual.
I will say, the Tuscan Raiders, like the Sand people, they they were given like real character in this episode, which we hadn't really seen yet in like the films. And I thought that was really interesting, and it was cool. Jumping forward just a bit for a second, like Mando being able to talk in their language and things like that, and us getting the line where he's like, "I've been to Tatooine a lot," so it makes sense he can speak their language and communicate. And I think it shows just how clever and really good at his job the Mandalorian is.
Yes. There are the best thing about this episode is that there are 3 or 4 different desert Western style frontier traveling montages, and each one has its own musical theme, which brings us to the big point of the show. Ludwig is amazing. I love him. And like the first one, it's Mando like theme and how it's done, and it's got certain things, but it has the Western twang. And then we get him, Mando, riding into town like the Lone Rider, and everyone's looking at him all weird, and everyone's like, "Who's this guy? Why is he here?" What an amazing like Western montage. Favreau nails it on the head here. And then we have to. He walks in, he asks the bartender, "I'm looking for a Mandalorian. What's he look like?" "He looks like me." "Oh, you mean the Marshal?" Then the Marshal walks in, and what do we see, David?
Boba Fett's armor. And I'm like, wait, what? I kind of like a double take. Like, is that supposed to be just like some Mandalorian armor? But then I'm like, that is Boba Fett's suit. Yes.
And they do
all kind of like messed up a bit. Almost seems like there's been some kind of like breaking down from maybe some like acid or something. So cool. And just, I mean, I think that was a really, really cool way to first tease Boba Fett, which we kind of like had heard was coming in this episode or in this season, but from the jump. And honestly, like, you probably have this in your notes, but I thought it was such a cool story idea to make it so, like, you know, that flashback of him getting the Mandalorian armor and how that worked, and him using it to defend his little town. I thought it was this episode to me was great because it pushed the story forward. It got us back into the rhythm of things with Mandalorian. It got us back into the world. And it was just it was really just about this like small story about this one town really on Tatooine. And honestly, like, I really enjoyed the story building elements of it. And I thought this just as an episode by itself worked really well. And it just had a great like beginning, middle, and end, right? Like,
yes, it felt very cinematic and movie-like.
Yeah, for sure. And it was just a fun story. I really enjoyed I forget the actor's name who
Timothy Oliphant.
Timothy Oliphant as the Marshal is awesome. I don't know where I've seen him from, but he's a very familiar face.
In the comments, you know, I know him from The Girl Next Door. That is that is the first movie that I first saw him in, and he plays such a sleazy dickbag. And then in this, I'm like, okay, like, and because of that, and I've not watched him in the other shows, Justified. He's in Fargo.
A bad guy in something I've seen recently.
But he's really good at playing bad. So I was thinking, oh, he's going to be like a bad guy, and he's not. He's a genuine badass good guy.
Really good guy.
Who is this person? This is Cobb Vance, and we talked about it last week that he was rumored to be playing Cobb Vance. He's from the Aftermath book, and they actually talk about him getting Mando's armor. There's a scene of him, Boba Fett's armor. There's also a scene in the book that would overlap with the flashback scene of him in the crawler when he finds the stuff and gets it. Now, I got a couple quotes here. First off, we gonna do this in front of the kid? He's seen worse.
Yeah.
God damn, dude. Wicked. And then of course we get the crate dragon, which again from the Kenobi book, big importance. There's another major Easter egg about the crate dragon, which we'll get to at the end. But then they come to the agreement. Hey, I'll give you the armor. And see, it's a great back and forth, and you can tell that they build respect for each other right off the bat because of their honesty. And they're just like, this is how it is. So he says, I'll give you this armor if you help me kill that dragon. It's a fair deal. They make the plan. Then they go driving out in the desert. Another montage with great music, but also this is when we do get the flashback. Before we get to the flashback more in depth, Cobb is driving a pod racing engine. Not just a pod racing engine. It looks like it's Anakin's pod racing engine.
One of them.
Yeah. So that is amazing.
Awesome.
And of course, what's Mando riding? That speeder.
Yeah, the speeder. It was really cool. Like you mentioned earlier, just like the image itself was someone wearing Boba Fett's armor on what looked like a side of Anakin Skywalker's pod racer. Like, who would have thought we'd be getting this? And it just looked really cool. I mean, it made you. I like being on Tatooine in The Mandalorian. And we get some like prequel. I enjoy the prequel like flashbacks and callbacks too, like the Easter eggs from the prequels. I actually sometimes enjoy Easter eggs from the prequels more than some others because I feel like they get so pushed to the side. I'm not saying I'm the biggest prequel fan, but I think the Easter eggs are really fun with them because I don't know, it gives us in the areas that I thought the prequels weren't great. I think it's fun seeing them under a different lens, and I think it helps them in my mind almost. And I still enjoy the fiction and the I guess it's like the overarching story of those movies and kind of the world they built in some ways. And I like to see them in Star Wars still. You know, I think it'd be really interesting to see even more of that.
Yes. I think this season we're going to get a lot more prequel callbacks, especially based on all the rumors we've heard. So
we're going to get a lot of callbacks to a lot of things, seems like.
So, yeah, we're going to leave that. But another callback and an amazing flashback that I never thought we'd get is Mos Pelgo during the explosion of the Death Star. The second one. That
was so fun.
Dude, I love that so much. Like, just watching the hologram and then how it all turns so fast.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Power hates a vacuum. Like,
dude, that was the flashbacks in this episode. Didn't I say this like last week or the other day?
You love a Star Wars flashback.
That the flashbacks in The Mandalorian have been so good, and they've been some of the best parts I enjoyed of season 1. And already in season 2, they were already probably my favorite parts. Some of my favorite parts of this episode were the flashbacks because I think that's where you get the great callbacks, and that's where you can really play with like some fun Easter eggs and getting the other angle of major events, like the second Death Star blowing up like that. I live for that kind of thing, and I think it's so fascinating. And that little town and how that all went down with those guys coming in what were they supposed to be?
Just the mining dicks.
Yeah, whatever. That was so interesting to me, and it makes it. The Mandalorian is really. It's not always that grounded, but it makes Star Wars feel a bit more grounded. And it's like the smaller story and learning about this town and just the people in there. You care. You shouldn't even really care about what's happening, but you do just because it's really good storytelling. And we've already kind of met some of the people, and you care about the Marshal. Anyway, I really enjoy the flashbacks, and I'm sure we're going to get a ton more this season. I can't wait.
Yeah, in that flashback, one Easter egg that I really noticed is one of the Jawas offers the moment that he says he wants the Boba Fett armor, because he has the silica, I don't know how to say it. And one of the Jawas are offering him a head of a droid, and it looks like the original concept art head of C-3PO.
Oh, really?
And if you look at the graffiti earlier in the episode, there's a protocol droid, and it also resembles a balance between what we see as 3PO and the original design of 3PO. Very, very interesting way that they finesse that.
Yeah.
Then they come into this canyon. The Tusken Raiders, dog creatures, show up, and then you totally forget that he can speak Tuscan. He speaks Tuscan, and then it's like, oh, the Tuscans want to also kill the Krayt Dragon.
Yeah.
So then they're sitting there. First off, there's a Tuscan Raider flossing a Banthas tooth. Amazing, right? That was just unexpected. Nice little egg, or should I say, suka? Anyways, back to the plot. Obviously, Cobb Vance gets all pissy with the Tuscan because, well, you know, everybody gets pissy with the Tuscans. Anakin. And we end up seeing
Anakin.
And this is where listening to the Kenobi audiobook really came in handy, because I was listening to the thoughts of a Tuscan, and although it's not canon, it's a part of Legends, and they're pulling from Legends. So like the Krayt Dragon was the first time we've ever seen the Krayt Dragon alive in live action, because the Krayt Dragon the bones in that 3PO walks by in episode 4, that's a Krayt Dragon. That's a dead Krayt Dragon. That's the remains of So this is the first time we've ever seen it alive in live action. The Tuscans have a plan, and Cobb has to, you know, I love that when they get in the dispute, Mando just plays diplomatic and throws a flamethrower in front of their face.
Yeah. I think it was really interesting seeing just those dynamics with Tuscan Raiders, and it was kind of showing us just kind of like the little, I don't know, almost like the politics of just the little Tatooine area, and like these, having to bring people together that don't like each other just for the common cause. You know, it's like, we're not friends, but we have the common enemy, so let's do this thing.
And in the Kenobi book, Tuscans do not make deals. They do not barter. It is, you've killed us, we kill you. That's how it works. Or we kill you because we can, and then you kill us, and then we'll kill you back. Like, it's a weird cycle of violence.
Right.
And in the book, they mentioned, you know, 3 years ago, there was something that happened. And so Tuscans, we stopped invading. And that was Anakin slaying an entire village. That is what they're talking about there.
Oh, really?
And so eventually Kenobi, because I think he can speak a little bit of Tuscan, if I remember right in the book, but either way, the leader of the Tuscans can understand basic, and they discuss back and forth a couple times, and they make their first deal. And the whole point of the Tuscans is things are changing. We have to evolve, and we have to change our tactics and things of that nature. And so it was really cool seeing how in this episode, they are willing to barter. It's like, all right, well, and here's the important thing. What is it? Where is it? The official deal is the Tuscans will not raise a blaster against Mos Pelgo as long as they get the carcass and the Icar, which is the pearl, which we'll talk about. And then they will only break that deal when the townspeople open fire on them first. So it's like, okay, they've made that amazing deal, which again, we've not seen before or even heard of. You know, they're animals. I hate them all. Sorry, Anakin. Always on the move. Then we have some back and forth with the townspeople. They have to convince the town people that, you know, work with the Tuscans. Also, I love the little banter where it's like, is it that big? That's not the scale. It's the scale. Oh God, really? He's like, I've only seen its head and its neck. I didn't know it was that big. Phrasing. Cobb also dropped that he's a Tatooine native. Did he know Anakin? He's about Anakin's age.
Yeah, maybe.
And
he's got his pod racer.
He's got the exactly. And we get a shout out to Mos Espa, which is where Anakin lived and where obviously, etc. We get a new Star Wars curse word here, Dank Farrik. Dank Farrik. Keep that in mind, folks.
All right.
As we get to the end, the Krayt Dragon spits acid. Didn't know that could happen.
Yeah,
We get
that
cool
was scary.
Yeah, we get cool jetpack action. Mando makes the sacrifice play to save the day, explodes it from the inside. And then he also hits Cobb's jetpack to get him to fly off, just like Solo did Boba Fett.
Yeah, that was cool. That was a good callback.
Which leads to the line, you make sure you tell your people I didn't break that.
Yeah, right.
So, and then a weird little Easter egg that I'm not sure was meant to be an Easter egg, but the screen changed as he was writing off from from full screen to letterbox.
Yeah,
which is like, ooh, what do we got to get? And what do we get? We get fucking Boba Fett. Timura Morrison scarred up all the way.
Dude, that was, even though we kind of knew it was coming, I guess
it was still unexpected.
So it was episode 1,
right?
I mean, like that was, I mean, let's go, man. We're in. I mean, I think that was one of their best episodes in my opinion.
It might be. I think it might have just, honestly, it did take over the heist as my favorite episode.
It did a lot.
I love the heist. It's a great standalone episode. This is an even better standalone episode.
Well, this reminded me a bit of that episode where they were with the people and they were collecting all the blue shrimp, and there was that one woman.
Yes.
Because it's like, it's a little village and they're defending it, like that, those kind of same story beats, which I think they really nail, where it's Mandalorian just like helping these kind of helpless people, and he's like begrudgingly like having to do it. It's just showing that Mandalorian's journey is so like all over the place. He can't just get from point A to point B. He's got to do all these little things just to do what he's really trying to do, which is find Mandalorians, find Baby Yoda's people, all those good things. Thomas, are you still with me? Oh my gosh, have we lost Thomas? We were about to get his fan stories. Chat, can you let me know if I'm gone or if Thomas is gone? I think Thomas is gone. He'll be back though. Or will I be back? Am I messing up? Sorry for the awkward silence. Oh, it is just me. Thomas will be back. He's not going to be a happy camper when he does get back. Here he comes. Thomas is coming back. Here he comes.
I'm Thor Pumpkins, y'all. My Wi-Fi was possessed by a witch. Yes, I was listening to. I had to turn on my iPad audio because I was like, "Oh, what's he saying? I don't want to miss anything."
I wasn't saying anything.
I found out. So, David, I have a question. Where do you think? Because the main thing is he's trying to find Mandalorian. He's been quested, like we said. I think the whole season is going to revolve around finding Mandos, and it's going to lead to certain people. He doesn't actually see a Mandalorian at all. Doesn't meet a single one.
Nope.
What do you think is going to happen just in next week's episode?
I honestly am not. It could go a lot of different areas. I mean, this episode ends. He gets the armor. He's leaving, essentially. He's got Baby Yoda. And kind of a typical ending to a Mandalorian episode where it's like, all right, on to the next one. You know, on to the next thing. And
where he says, oh, I hope we get to cross paths again, which is like, oh, it's Mando. They're definitely crossing paths again. Like, oh,
it definitely will.
Happen. He's now on Team Mando.
I want to say next episode, I don't know. I don't know if I have really a good one for this. I want to say that what's the one woman character? She's like the wrestler in real life, or like was.
Cara Dune.
Yeah, I imagine she might come back in the next one, because I think they'll bring her back early, because I think she's kind of one of those characters that may come back maybe next episode and will be back in the later episodes. I honestly, I don't know where it's going. I'll be genuinely honest. Like I'm curious to see what you think, but I think it kind of left things pretty open for what we're going to get next. I don't know when Boba Fett will actually come into play. Like if that'll be right now or if that was just a tease for down the line. I'm excited though, and it's got me thinking we're going to get a lot more stuff like Boba Fett down the future. And I can't wait, but I honestly, I don't know. Maybe after rewatching it, I would have a better answer. But after just one viewing, I don't know. Keep on keeping on. Like I said, Mandalorian, it's like, oh, he's going to go do this. But then, this whole situation with this town and this crazy dragon has to be dealt out. So it's kind of hard to telegraph what's going to happen next. Thomas, what do you think?
I think we're gonna be on Tatooine still because
Really?
we never see him leave.
We don't.
Planet.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna just use history as a great example. Season 1, episode 1 and 2 take place on the same planet.
Okay. Yeah.
Remember it? I mean, well, it takes place on a bunch of planets, but it ends in episode 1 with him meeting Baby Yoda, and then he's trying to leave the planet. Then they have to fight the Mudhorn so they can have the Jawas and get the shit. So then they can fix the thing, and then he finally leaves the planet. And then episode 3, he goes back to the planet, and it's just a whole 3-episode arc.
Yeah.
I think because he's leaving Mos Pelgo to go to Mos Eisley to leave the planet will start on Tatooine.
Mm-hmm.
And I do have a feeling Boba Fett will, because he's looking for Boba Fett.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, he's looking for Boba Fett and does not know it. I think that they're going to cross paths. And I think that I think it happens in the next episode.
Wow.
Like he sees him leaving and he knows that he's going to track him and it's Boba fucking Fett. You know, he's going to find him. Like,
true.
Come on. So I think that they're going to do that. And, at the end of the day, I think we're going to learn a metric fracton about Boba Fett in the next episode.
I think what's cool is that...
And I think we'll see if Fennec Shand is still alive or not.
Yeah. I think what's interesting is that in our timeline right now in Mandalorian, Boba Fett didn't fall in that Sarlacc pit all that long ago.
5 years.
Yeah, exactly. So I hope you're right. I would love for that to be the next episode where it's like, all right, they teased Boba Fett at the end of this one, and now we're going to get Boba Fett. I just don't know. This show always zags when I think it's going to zig.
Well,
it always feels like.
Well, I mean, it's very true.
They love the tease and then save it for later.
Well, they teased Baby Yoda at the end of the first episode of last season, and then he was like, "Oh, that's the whole plot." Like maybe
Boba Fett's the whole plot.
Is a part of is like a major playing point in the entire plot. Maybe they swap stories and he goes, "Oh, okay." He's like, "Yeah, I got to find the Jedi." And he's like, "Jedi, but ain't no Jedi."
Yeah.
I don't know why I just made him a pirate that works for Hondo right there, but it's like, you don't need a Jedi. Jedi are scum, blah, blah, blah. And then they go back and forth. And so he's just going to keep getting negative stories about Jedi until he finally meets Ahsoka.
Yeah.
So
we'll see, man. I'm looking forward to it.
Back to your flashback. I think we're going to keep getting flashbacks. And I feel like the best way to do world building in the Mando way is a flashback every episode.
Yeah.
But it's like he's learning about other people.
Yeah.
And it's in turn teaching the audience a little bit more because they've talked about they're going to tie in more to what's happened before, and they're going to set up what's going on in the future.
Mm-hmm.
Like we already saw as soon as the Empire went down and occupations ended, powerful people started making plays. And that's going to continue until the First Order is like, ha, 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 ha. Now you kneel to us.
Yeah.
So I think we get Boba Fett next episode. I think we get a flashback of Boba Fett next episode.
I would love that.
Oh, here we go. This is what I think. This is a good point. We don't know if Jango or Boba is a real Mandalorian because everything that was mentioned before is now legends. And he, as we know, Mandalorian is a creed.
Right.
It's not a people. So we'll see how he got that.
Like debated too, because some people say that it's a people, and then in Mandalorian the show, it's like, wait, it's a creed, but then you go back and watch.
It is both.
Clone Wars.
There are Mandalore the people, but there were also fractures of Mandalore and etc. But I think
sorry.
What are you gonna ask?
Who's the character who has the John Esposito, right?
Moff Gideon.
Gideon. When does he come in? That could be next episode. That character I feel like is gonna have a bigger role in the season. We haven't gotten him yet. I think he might come in next episode. That's my
What if Boba's working for him?
maybe.
And he's like, I can get my armor. And then it puts Boba in a situation where he's got to be like, well, the Mando helped me, but I was paid for a job. But also, he's doing something that I agree with. Maybe he doesn't. I don't effing know. Because let's be real. We were talking about the power vacuum. I think we're going to find out that Boba Fett took over Jabba's gang.
Really?
I think that's what we're going to get. That is my big fan theory of Boba Fett, is what happened after he crawled out of that Sarlacc pit. And also, by the way, they say that Sarlacc pits aren't empty. And then he says it is if you eat the Sarlacc.
Wasn't that interesting?
Whoa. That was a fun little nugget.
I think that was kind of trying to half explain how he got out. Was that, there's an explanation as to how a Sarlacc pit would be empty, right?
Yes. And not only that, but basically Mando might have straight up done the exact same thing that Boba did. He might have used the bomb and exploded and killed the Sarlacc and then crawled himself out.
Yeah.
Like we really don't know. I also think that in the next episode, we will finally leave Tatooine. I know that's like a big stretch, but I think we'll finally leave Tatooine. I'm so upset that we gotta wait so long.
It's a week, bro. I mean, I prefer this over than the full dump. I think it's fun because we get to have these conversations and we get to build the hype and theorize and Thorize and all the fun things.
It is such a stress and a pain in the ass for me because I watch it with my dad first. And like scheduling that is really difficult right now. Like I keep having things that pop up later on Friday evenings.
Right.
So it's like, hey, are you going to come over? He's like, I don't know. I might be able to. And it's like, that's not helping me. I have to do this for my job. Please don't make me choose. I love you. But like yesterday we watched it while eating lunch.
Nice.
So like we squeezed it in there, but I was stressed. I was like, dude, am I going to have to watch this without my dad? Because as I've said on this podcast, I failed at watching episode 9 with him in theaters, and we started watching. I've not watched a single one of these episodes of Mando without him first, so I'm keeping that up. Like I literally went to Tampa and spent like an extra week not watching Mando just to watch it with him and avoided all the internet. So keeping that up as best I can.
Good work.
It's stressful, man.
Yeah,
it's epic stressful sometimes, David. That brings us to the end of the show. Do you have anything to promote?
I do not.
Again, Trenton Boone's GoFundMe is still active. It is still live. If you can share it, excuse me, if you could please share that would be amazing. If you, especially if you cannot donate money, we totally understand. I just posted it in the comments. Hopefully it posts. Sometimes it doesn't. It likes to yell at me. And he's recovering and fighting cancer right now. So if you could share it to your posse, your family, all of that, that would be amazing. David, where can everyone find you on social media? Man, this show went long.
Yeah, man. We had a lot of news. We had some good Mandalorian chat. You guys can find me at my name, David Thompson, on Facebook, at David J. Thompson on TikTok, David J. Thompson on Instagram, and David Thompson with 2 A's on Twitter. Thomas, what about you?
Thomas Carter Rochester -actor on Facebook, at Thomas Carter Rochester, all one word, no hyphens, no spaces, on Instagram, at TC Rochester. That is TCROCHESTERACT on Twitter, and of course, Life of Thor on YouTube, where, ladies and gentlemen, this afternoon, I'm going to be probably yelling at my nephews to be quiet so I can record, but recording Thor Watches The Mandalorian Season 2, Episode 1, Chapter 9. And I have so many other notes that I was having to skip over because I'm like, nah, that's for Thor Watches. That's for Thor Watch. We don't have time for that. I do have some actually closing notes really quick. This episode's full of great one-liners. I'm sorry, I leaned away from the mic like an unprofessional. The episode is full of great one-liners. Sarlaccs can be eaten. The music is amazing. And
music is amazing. That is one of the best parts of the show, and it's back and better than ever.
And I want to close out this week's episode with a good quote. It is potentially my favorite quote First off, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us. Thank you, Brian, Terry, for hopping in the comments and commenting along with us. It was really fun. We will get better at actually popping in those comments more and more because we're a little bit slow. We're still learning how to comment well.
Thank you all.
Yes, thank you. We hope you have a safe and happy Halloween. I'm taking my nephews trick-or-treating tonight. I bought masks. They're going to decorate them themselves because that's how Uncle Thor works. This has been episode 30 of Lights, Thunder, Action, but I'm going to leave you on this quote. I guess every once in a while, both sign. I can't read. I'm so sorry. I already failed. I was trying to do the accent, and my handwriting is terrible. I guess everyone. My God, I really can't write. Ladies and gentlemen, newsflash: my handwriting is terrible. I write like a 5-year-old. I guess every once in a while, both suns shine on a womp rat's tail. Thank you. I finally got there.